Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 17th of September, comes to you from London. Dollar rose quite strongly on Friday, putting the price back above the cloud on the short term, but still relatively flat over the last few months. So dollar strength is just really holding. That's what we're seeing. And if we look at the euro, again, fairly flat. And still medium term bearish against the US dollar and just kicking down a little bit here on Friday as well. Japanese yen, we're seeing the dollar strong here still, and that is normally a lead indicator. And key thing is the dollar is turning long-term bullish here, so we are seeing the dollar um, making that move there. And against the sterling actually holding stronger above the 130 level. So looking stronger against the dollar in that on that short-term chart, slightly trending up with some new upside targets, some as high as 135, 134. So we are seeing potential for sterling to go higher, and against the euro, we're seeing that as well. So sterling just looking stronger, really rising on hopes for a Brexit deal, and looking at the Swiss franc fairly flat against the Aussie dollar, again fairly flat but still bullish long and medium term. Bitcoin sitting still at about $6,500, still bearish on the medium-term chart and flat the last few days. It's just struggling generally. U.S. stock markets had a better week last week than the week before. We look at the S&P 500 index. We see we had a bullish candle for the week. We are again bullish short-term above the cloud now. So U.S. markets looking quite a bit better. And looking at Nasdaq. Had quite a mixed week in tech, but still trending medium and long term on the upside. The Dow still struggling to make a new all-time high, higher than the start of the year, so we're still in negative territory for the year, but looking relatively bullish again on the short-term chart. And the broader-based Russell index was also up on Friday as well. The futures for the S&P down slightly this morning, down almost a fifth of a percent, and much the same for the Nasdaq E-mini, down a fifth of a percent. So we may see the US market open slightly lower. UK market last week performed fairly flat over the last few days and still looking bearish on that medium-term chart. So that is still a concern. And mid caps in the UK, much the same picture, bearish below the cloud. And the short-term chart hasn't yet got to bullish either. The DAX in Germany also has been looking pretty weak on the medium-term charts, bearish below the cloud, and again similar to the UK market, just not managing to get above the short-term cloud on the lagging line. And looking at the CAC 40, just looking a little bit better than the German market, the French market, but still again not managing to get higher, and that medium-term chart a worry. Tokyo overnight, we saw a move up 1%, so Japan looking quite a bit better. But we did see big falls in Hong Kong, which of course has been hit by a typhoon. So we see Hong Kong down 1.33%, still looking bearish on that medium-term chart. The Chinese market down a further 1%, so nudging new lows there. We see that on the weekly. We're going back to multi-year lows now, so that is bearish, of course. And looking at the Sensex, we see here we were short-term bullish, down 1% as well. The Aussie market actually bucked the trend a little bit. It was up a third of a percent. And then looking at some of the commodities, crude oil sitting at $78, back into bearish territory on that short-term chart. And then looking at WTI sitting at $69 again, just bearish on that short-term chart. We are really entering the time of year where crude tends to fall quite heavily in the run up to Christmas, so we shouldn't be surprised to see further falls there. US nat gas sitting at $2.78, and if we take a look at gold, gold back below the $1,200 mark, so that's taken us back to short-term bearish. And silver also back there as well. Stronger dollar, of course, not helping. US 10-year yield sitting at 2.99%, so knocking on the door of 3% again. We did actually go through that on Friday, so looking strong. And we've got quite a few upside targets here, 307, 308, 310. On the short-term chart, so it does look like yields will build further. And of course, that's bearish for bond prices, and we see the German bond price still bearish on all three time frames. Tech stocks had a fairly mixed week. The strong tech, Apple and Amazon, continue to look pretty strong. Apple was down a bit on Friday, and Amazon also just having a bit of a weak end to the week, but really still looking very strong on the medium and long-term charts. Google has been lagging pretty much all year this year, and we see that Google is still looking bearish. It wasn't down as much on the day on Friday, but we are still seeing it's not looking as strong, i.e. not making new highs. Facebook also looking very weak below this 170 support level, and so that is still a major concern, and we had a new downside target generated on Friday to 149. So this 140s area, some 10% lower, is now starting to look very feasible for Facebook shares. Microsoft actually looking stronger, sitting at 113, making new all-time highs. And then Netflix has been in the news a lot lately, of course. Big sell-offs last month, was down a further 1% on Friday. And Tesla, again, has seen a lot of volatility in the share price. Was actually up on Friday. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.